The first time I realized my wife didn't flinch when she lied to my face, it wasn't during a fight. It was on a random Tuesday night, barefoot in our kitchen, when she laughed, this soft, breathy laugh she used to save for me, and she aimed it straight down into her phone like it was a mouth she wanted to kiss. And when I said, "Who's that?" she didn't even look up from the screen. "Just an online friend," she said, easy as breathing. You wouldn't get it. That sentence detonated my whole life. It just took me a couple weeks to hear the blast. I'm Nate. 36. Born and raised in St. Louis County. I do IT for a mid-size logistics company, meaning I'm the guy everyone calls when Outlook mysteriously deletes their email, it didn't, or when the CEO's printer hates him personally, it does. My wife, Lauren, is 34. She works as a patient coordinator at a private dermatology clinic. She's good at it too, organized, charming, warm in that "I'll make you feel seen" way that made me fall for her in the first place. We've been married 11 years. 2 kids. Ellie is 8 and thinks every animal she sees is, probably lonely. Mason is 5 and currently believes his destiny is to become a firefighter and a dinosaur. Our house is a normal suburban split level with a backyard that I keep promising to finally fix up and never do, because life happens and bedtime is a battlefield. If you'd asked me 6 months ago how my marriage was, I would have said, solid. Not fireworks every night solid, but steady. Good. The kind of relationship you build through flu seasons and car repairs and sitting next to each other on the couch while one of you scrolls and the other half watches a show. Then, late summer, little things started moving out of place. Lauren began staying up after I went to bed. Not in the reading a book way. In the phone glowing under the covers way. She'd angle the screen away when I walked in. She'd smile at texts and then wipe the smile off like she'd been caught tasting frosting straight from the tub. And the biggest one, this is the one that makes me feel stupid in hindsight, she started guarding her phone like it was a vital organ. If I asked to use it to call mine because I'd misplaced it. Hold on, let me do it. If I picked it up absent-mindedly to move it off the couch cushion. She'd snatch it back fast enough to make my heart trip. And I told myself what everyone tells themselves when the alternative is unbearable. She's stressed. It's work. It's nothing. We had routines. Kids, dinner, laundry, the constant low hum of responsibilities. Lauren and I hadn't been bad. We'd just been tired. And tired people don't always notice when their spouse starts building a second life in their pocket. The first time she said, "online friend," she made it sound like she'd joined a knitting forum. "He's in a group I'm in," she told me, brushing her hair in the bathroom mirror. It's nice having someone to talk to who doesn't, you know. Doesn't what? She shrugged like I was slow. Doesn't live in the chaos. I laughed, a little hurt, trying to keep it light. So I'm chaos? She gave me a quick smile. You know what I mean. I didn't. But I also didn't press, because pressing felt needy, and I didn't want to be that guy. What I didn't understand then was that she wasn't just talking. She was auditioning a new version of herself. One without a husband. One without carpool schedules. One without me. It wasn't a lipstick stain or a stray condom wrapper or some movie-level smoking gun. It was time. Time she didn't have for me, but somehow had plenty of for a glowing rectangle at 1:12 a.m. I started waking up and finding her missing from bed. I'd stumble into the hallway and see the light under the door of the downstairs bathroom, or I'd hear the faint clink of ice in a glass, like she was having a secret little cocktail party for one. One night I came downstairs and she was sitting at the kitchen table in the dark, just the stove light on, phone in hand, smiling like a teenager. She startled when she saw me. "Jesus, Nate," she snapped, then softened instantly. "You scared me." "Couldn't sleep," I said. "Me neither." I nodded toward her phone. "Talking to him?" Her eyes flicked away. "Yeah. Just chatting. About what? She exhaled like I was exhausting. Life. Things. It's harmless. The way she said harmless made my stomach tighten. Because harmless things don't need defense attorneys. The next day, I did something I'm not proud of, but I also don't regret. I checked the iPad. We have one of those family iPads that lives on the coffee table and has games for the kids and a grocery app and, apparently, access to my wife's entire hidden world, because Lauren had her messages synced and forgot about it. I didn't go into it thinking, I'm going to catch my wife cheating. I went into it thinking, maybe I'll find something dumb and feel stupid and relieved. That is not what happened. The first thing I saw was a message preview with a name I didn't recognize. Drew Blackheart. And the last message, timestamped 1:47 a.m. I can't stop thinking about what you said. If I was there, I'd prove it. My hands went cold so fast it felt like my blood left. I tapped it. I shouldn't have. But I did. Their chat thread was a long, continuous drip of intimacy. Not just flirting, routine. Like he had a reserved seat in her day. Good morning texts. Good night texts. Inside jokes. Pet names. He called her Lo. She called him D. And there were messages that made my throat close. Lauren, he rolled over and started snoring. I'm in the bathroom LOL. Drew, wish you were in my bed instead. Lauren, stop. Flushed face. Drew, make me. Lauren, I can't tonight. Kids. Life. Drew, someday soon. Then I scrolled further and I saw the moment where online friend became something else. Drew, I'm traveling for work next month. Guess where? Lauren, no way. Where? Drew, St. Louis. Lauren, shut up. Drew, I'm dead serious. If I'm there, are we actually doing this? Lauren, we can't. Drew, we can. You just have to say yes. Lauren, I don't know. Drew, Lo. I'm not flying across the country to just wave at you. Lauren, okay. Just, careful. I felt like I'd been shoved off a dock. And the worst part? She wasn't resisting him the way a faithful wife resists. She was resisting him the way a guilty person resists a second dessert. A weak resistance. A pretend resistance. The kind that's basically permission. I sat there on the couch with that iPad in my lap, kid's sticky fingerprints on the screen, and my heart tried to climb out of my ribs. I kept scrolling like it was going to turn into a different story if I read far enough. It didn't. There were photos too. Not nude. Not explicit. But intimate. Selfies in the bathroom mirror. Her hair down in a way she never bothered with at home. That little half-smile she used to give me when we were dating, the "you're lucky" smile. One of Drew's messages said, "That dress at work today, you're killing me." And Lauren replied, "I did it on purpose." I set the iPad down like it was radioactive. Then I did what I always do when something doesn't make sense. I started looking for patterns. I checked our shared calendar. Lauren had marked a clinic dinner for the same week Drew was supposed to randomly be in town. I checked our bank account. 2 charges I didn't recognize. One was for a hotel downtown, not an overnight, not multiple nights. A single-day charge. The kind of hotel charge you make when you're not sleeping there, you're using it. My vision tunneled. My mouth tasted like pennies. And then, because humiliation apparently comes with bonus content, I realized Lauren had already started preparing the house for her random visitor. She'd been extra sharp with me lately. Not just irritated. Contemptuous. Like I was in the way of her real life. That night she came home from work and kissed me on the cheek like she was checking a box. "How was your day, she asked. Fine, I said, and my voice sounded weird to my own ears. Good, she said, already reaching for her phone. I watched her thumb hover over the screen. I realized I was watching someone send a message to the man she was planning to meet in a hotel while I packed lunches and did bath time. And something inside me, something old and primal, went very still. I didn't confront her immediately. Not because I was being strategic. Because I was scared of what would happen if I did. I'm not a violent guy. I've never hit anyone. But rage is a weird chemical. It makes you feel like you could punch through drywall and not even notice the splinters. So I waited until the kids were asleep 2 nights later. She was on the couch, legs tucked under her, phone glowing, smiling into it again. I stood in the doorway and said, "Who's Drew?" Her thumbs froze. She didn't look up. What? Drew, I repeated. Who is he? She looked up then, and for half a second her face did something I'll never forget. It flickered. Like a mask slipping. Then she recovered. What are you talking about? I walked over and put the iPad on the coffee table in front of her. Screen on. Thread open. Her words. His words. All of it. The silence that followed was so heavy it felt like pressure in my ears. Lauren swallowed. You went through my messages. You went through our marriage, I said, and my voice surprised me with how steady it was. Start talking. She stared at the screen like it was someone else's life. Then she did what cheaters do first. She minimized. It's not what you think. I laughed once, harsh. I read it, Lauren. I don't need to think. Her eyes welled instantly. Tears, like she had a switch. You're invading my privacy, she whispered. I leaned forward. Privacy is for people who aren't planning hotel meetups behind their husband's back. She flinched. Like the word husband physically hurt. It wasn't supposed to go this far, she said, and that sentence was basically a confession. I felt something crack in my chest. So it did, I said quietly. How far? She shook her head fast. We haven't. Haven't what? I snapped. Say it. She pressed her lips together, eyes wide like a cornered animal. I haven't slept with him, she said. Okay. I haven't. I stared at her. And here's the sickest part, I wanted to believe that. My brain tried to grab onto it like a life raft. Then I remembered the hotel charge. I remembered the calendar entry. I remembered, someday soon. I said, then why is there a hotel charge on our account, Lauren? Her face went white. She looked down, then up, and her voice came out small. I just needed somewhere to talk. To talk, I repeated, like I was tasting the stupidity of it. You rented a hotel room downtown to talk to your online friend. She started crying harder. Real sobs now, shoulders shaking. I felt lonely, she said. I felt, like you don't see me anymore. I blinked. We have 2 kids. We both work. We're tired. That's not called, not seeing you. That's called life. You used to look at me, she whispered. You used to want me. I felt heat rush into my face. I still wanted you, I said. I wanted my wife. You were the one sneaking into bathrooms at midnight to text another man. She wiped her face with the back of her hand and said something that made my stomach flip. He understands me. There it was. The classic line. He listens. He makes me feel alive. Like I'd been holding her in a cage instead of building a home with her. I stood up because if I stayed sitting, I might say something I could never take back. Is he coming here? I asked. To St. Louis. She hesitated. That pause was everything. I don't know, she said, and her voice was too careful. He said he might be traveling. I leaned over, grabbed her phone off the couch before she could react, and held it up. Unlock it. Nate. Unlock it. Her hands trembled as she typed in the code. And there it was. Right on the screen. A fresh message from Drew. Just booked my flight. Thursday. I'm really doing it. Lauren made a sound like a wounded animal. I stared at her. Thursday, I repeated. So while I'm doing drop-off and pick-up and making dinner and helping with homework, you're meeting him. She grabbed at my arm. Nate, please. I yanked away like her touch burned. What's his last name? I asked. She shook her head. What's his last name, Lauren? Her voice broke. I don't, he never. Stop, I said. You're telling me you've been sending "I wish you were in my bed" messages to a man you don't know the last name of? She sobbed. I know him. I know him better than. She stopped herself, eyes wide. Better than me. That's what she almost said. And I would have done anything to never hear it. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop open, staring at a family photo from last Christmas where Lauren's hand was on my shoulder and her smile looked real. I kept replaying little moments from the past few months. Her sudden gym kicks. Her new perfume. The way she'd hum while texting. The way she'd come into bed and roll away from me like my body was inconvenient. I felt anger like a fever. Then sadness like a weight. Then anger again. At around 3 a.m., I walked into our bedroom and looked at her sleeping. She looked peaceful. Like she didn't have a grenade under our house. I wanted to shake her awake and scream. I wanted to crawl into bed and pretend it never happened. I wanted to disappear. Instead, I went into the guest room and shut the door. The next day I moved through the morning routine like a robot. Ellie asked if I was mad at Mommy. Mason asked if Mommy could take him to school like she used to. I said, Mommy's busy, because what else do you say to a 5-year-old when your world is collapsing? At work, I stared at my monitors and answered tickets and reset passwords while my mind screamed. I kept thinking, how long? Because it's never just the messages you saw. It's the ones you didn't. It's the calls they delete. It's the private jokes that started innocent and turned into something else. It's the moment your spouse decided you were safe to betray because you'd never leave. And then, there was humiliation. That's the part people don't talk about enough. It's not just heartbreak. It's not just rage. It's that hot, crawling shame that makes you feel like everyone can tell. Like your neighbors can smell it on you when you take the trash out. Like your wife walks into Target and you're not her partner, you're the idiot she's managing until she can get to her real life. I kept hearing Lauren's words. He understands me. As if I was a defective product. I thought about the nights I stayed up with Mason when he had ear infections so she could sleep. The weekends I took the kids to my parents so she could have quiet time. The way I stopped buying things for myself so we could afford her clinic certification course. And the whole time, she was giving her best parts to a stranger on a screen. By Wednesday, I was numb enough to think. And thinking, in that moment, was dangerous, because that's when planning happens. I didn't want to win her back. I didn't want counseling. I didn't want to compete with a man who only had to show up digitally, say pretty words, and avoid the mess of real life. I wanted the truth. I wanted control over my own life again. So I did what I'm trained to do. I gathered information. I looked up his number in her phone. It was saved as Drew Group. Cute. I copied it down. I found his Instagram through a tagged photo Lauren had liked. Drew wasn't Drew, technically, his name was Andrew. He lived in Nashville. Worked in software sales. Posted gym selfies and hustle quotes. And then I saw her. A woman in his photos. Blonde. Bright smile. Her hand on his chest. Caption, 2 years with my favorite human. Her name was Hannah. I stared at her face for a long time. I imagined her laughing at his jokes, trusting him, planning weekend trips, maybe arguing about what color couch to buy. I imagined her not knowing she was about to become collateral damage in my wife's little fantasy. And something inside me hardened into a decision. If Lauren wanted to play 2 lives, I was going to connect them. That afternoon, I called a lawyer on my lunch break. Just to consult. Just to understand what divorce would look like in Missouri. The lawyer's voice was calm, professional, boring, like my life wasn't actively on fire. Don't move out, she told me. Document everything. Keep communication in writing where possible. And if there's an affair, do not do anything that could be framed as harassment. Harassment. Like I was the risk. When I got home, Lauren was in the kitchen making spaghetti like we were normal. She glanced at me like I was a stranger. You're being cold, she said quietly. I stared at her. You're meeting him tomorrow. She flinched. Nate. Don't, I said. Just, don't. She lowered her voice. It was a mistake. I laughed without humor. A mistake is putting salt in your coffee. This is a series of choices. She stepped closer, tears starting again. I'm sorry. Sorry you did it, I asked, or sorry you got caught? Her mouth opened and closed, and no sound came out. That was my answer. That night, she didn't go to bed. She stayed up, talking, again. And I sat in the guest room with my phone in my hand, Hannah's Instagram open, my thumb hovering over the message button. I hesitated. Because I knew what I was about to do would change everything, for all 4 of us. Then I thought about Ellie asking if I was mad at mommy. And I thought, my kids deserve at least one parent who lives in reality. So I wrote Hannah a message. Not dramatic. Not threatening. Just, truth. Hi. I'm Nate. I'm married to Lauren. I think your boyfriend Andrew has been having an affair with my wife. I have screenshots. I'm sorry. You deserve to know. I attached one screenshot. Just one. Enough to make it undeniable. Then I put my phone down like it weighed 50 pounds. 5 minutes passed. 10. Then my phone buzzed. A message from Hannah. Please tell me this is fake. I stared at it. My throat tightened. I typed back, I wish it was. She replied almost instantly. Can you call me? I looked at the hallway. The house was quiet except for the faint sound of Lauren's laugh upstairs, soft, secret, intimate. And I realized something that made me strangely calm. While my wife was giggling into her phone with my replacement. Andrew's girlfriend was on the other end of the line, about to become my ally. I stepped out onto the back porch, cold air hitting my face, and hit call. Hannah answered on the first ring, voice shaking. Okay, she said, breathless. Tell me everything. And as I started talking, quietly, carefully, like I was defusing a bomb, I didn't realize yet that this call was the first brick in the plan that would ruin Lauren's fantasy so completely she'd spend the next year begging for a life she set on fire with her own hands. But I did realize something else. I wasn't alone anymore. And neither was Hannah. Hannah's voice sounded like she'd been running. Not physically, emotionally. Like she'd sprinted through 2 years of memories and hit a wall labeled "You didn't know him." Okay, she said, breath trembling in my ear. Start from the beginning. And don't sugarcoat it. I can't do vague. I need facts. I stared out at my backyard, at the kids' plastic swing set half buried in dead leaves, and I thought about how normal everything still looked from the outside. Facts, I repeated. Yeah. I've got those. I told her about the iPad. The messages. The hotel charge. The flight. Thursday. There was a long, ugly silence on the line, and then she whispered, "He told me he had a work trip." My throat tightened. Nashville to St. Louis? Yeah, she said. He said a client wanted an in-person meeting. He even joked about toasted ravioli like he was cute. Her voice cracked on the last word, and I heard her breathe in hard, like she was trying not to fully fall apart. "I'm sorry," I said, "because I meant it. I didn't want to be the guy to tell you. I just couldn't sit with it." "No," she said, sharper now. Anger starting to bleed in. "Thank you. Seriously. I'd rather choke on the truth than live off his lies." I swallowed. "What are you thinking?" A pause. Then, "I'm thinking I want to look him in the eye." Same. "I don't want a screaming scene," she continued. "But I want him to know he didn't get away with it. I want him to feel it. Like, the moment it becomes real." I lean my forehead against the cold porch window. My wife thinks this is a fantasy. Like some movie. I want her to hit reality so hard it knocks the air out of her. Another pause. Then Hannah's voice lowered, steadying. "Okay," she said. "Then let's do it together." That sentence did something to me. Not romantic. Not hopeful. Just grounding. Because for the last 2 weeks, I'd been holding this poison alone. Now there was someone on the other side of it who understood the exact flavor. "All right," I said. "Here's what I know. Thursday afternoon. He's booked a hotel downtown. The charge hit our account already." "I can get to St. Louis," Hannah said immediately. "I'll drive. It's like 4-ish hours." "Don't do anything that gets you hurt," I said, and I surprised myself with how protective I sounded. "I'm not," she said. "I'm not going there to fight. I'm going there to witness." I exhaled slowly. Witness. That was the word. Not vengeance. Not violence. Witness. Because cheaters thrive in secrecy. They're cockroaches. You flip the light on, and suddenly it's chaos. "Okay," I said. "We need a plan that doesn't get us arrested." Hannah let out a short, humorless laugh. "I can't believe this is my life." "Same," I muttered. Then she asked, "Do you have proof? Like, enough that he can't lie his way out?" "I have screenshots," I said. "And the hotel charge. And the flight message." "Good," she said. "I'm going to get my own. Tonight." I didn't ask how. I didn't need details. I just said, "Be careful." "Yeah," she said softly. "You too." And after we hung up, I stood out there in the cold for a long time, staring at my dark yard, listening to the faint sound of my wife laughing upstairs into her phone. It didn't sound harmless anymore. It sounded like a crime scene. Lauren didn't come to bed. I lay in the guest room with my eyes open, watching the red numbers on the digital clock tick forward like a countdown. At 12:37 a.m., I heard her pad down the hall, footsteps soft, and the bathroom door clicked shut. I imagined her perched on the toilet lid, phone angled just right, face lit like she was at a campfire. And I realized something important. She wasn't acting guilty. She was acting excited. That realization hit harder than the messages. Because guilt means there's still a conscience in there somewhere. Excitement means she'd already decided I was the obstacle, not the partner. Sometime after 1 o'clock, my phone buzzed. A text from Hannah. "Hannah, he's asleep." I checked his phone. It's worse than I thought. I sat up, heart thudding. Me, worse how? The typing bubble appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Hannah, he told her he loved her. My stomach turned. Hannah, He called her, baby. He talked about getting a place someday. I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. I'm sorry. Hannah, don't be. Just. I'm coming tomorrow. I want you there. I don't want to do this alone. You won't. I stared at that last message after it sent. And in the quiet, I finally let myself feel it fully, the grief, the rage, the humiliation. Not in a dramatic sobbing way. More like a slow flooding. Like my body finally stopped fighting the truth and started drowning in it. I went downstairs and poured a glass of water, hands shaking. On the fridge was Ellie's drawing from school. Stick figure me and stick figure Lauren holding hands, with Mason and Ellie between us. A big sun in the corner. The words, in shaky letters. My family. I stood there in the kitchen with that drawing staring at me and I thought, how do you explain to a kid that the picture they drew was a lie you didn't even know you were living in? I didn't sleep at all. Thursday morning, Lauren was almost cheerful. She made the kids waffles. She hummed while she packed lunches. She even touched my shoulder as she passed me at the counter, like she was reminding herself how to play the role. You seem better, she said lightly, like my coldness had just been a mood swing. I looked at her, really looked. She'd done her hair. Makeup a little more than usual. Lip gloss. Not the rushed mom version. The version she used to wear when we went out. Yeah, I said. I'm fine. She smiled, and there was something in her eyes that made me feel like I was watching a stranger in my wife's face. What are you doing today? I asked casually. She didn't even blink. Clinic stuff. We have that dinner tonight. I told you. Right, I said. The dinner. Yeah, she said. Long day. Don't wait up. She kissed Mason on the head and Ellie on the cheek like she was a perfect mother, grabbed her purse, and walked out the door. And as soon as her car left the driveway, my phone buzzed again. Hannah, on the road. ETA 2:30. I stared at the screen, then at the family photo on our hallway wall, then back at the screen. This was happening. I called in a favor at work, told my manager I had a family emergency, which wasn't even a lie, just not the kind he'd assume. Then I did something I never thought I'd do. I watched my wife. Not like a stalker hiding in bushes. Like a man trying to see the exact moment his marriage officially died. We share locations. It was one of those convenience things we set up years ago, just in case, you know. Kids, schedules, safety. Lauren forgot she wasn't just sharing her location with her husband. She was sharing it with the man she was betraying. At 11:12, she was at work. At 1:05, she left. At 1:32, her dot hovered near a coffee shop downtown. At 2:10, it moved toward the hotel district. My hands went numb. I opened the bank app again. The hotel charge was there. Clear as day. I didn't know if I wanted to throw up or break something. I chose neither. I chose to keep going. At 2:24, Hannah pulled into my driveway in a gray SUV, eyes red-rimmed but fierce. She stepped out and I saw immediately what betrayal does to a person. It strips the softness off your face and replaces it with a kind of raw clarity. She was pretty, objectively, but there was nothing flirty about this moment. She looked like someone walking into a courtroom. We stood on my porch for a second, just staring at each other like, so you're the other victim. Hi, she said, voice tight. Hi, I replied. Then she held up her phone. I took pictures, she said. Screenshots. Everything. I nodded. Me too. We walked inside like two people attending a funeral. In my kitchen, she sat at the table and finally let herself cry for a minute, silent tears, shoulders stiff. I made him dinner last night, she said, laughing once through tears. I made his favorite. And he kissed me and said, "I'm so lucky." I felt my throat burn. Lauren told me she felt lonely, I said quietly. Like I didn't see her. Hannah wiped her face hard. They always say that. Like we're the villains for trusting them. We sat there in the wreckage of our shared reality, and then Hannah's face hardened. Okay, she said. Where is he staying? I gave her the hotel name. She nodded like she was filing it away for later, then looked up at me. What's the plan? I exhaled. We don't do anything illegal. We don't hit anyone. We don't damage property. We don't threaten. We just expose. Hannah's jaw clenched. Expose how? I turned my phone toward her and showed Lauren's location. It's heading there now, I said. She thinks she's meeting him in secret. So we make it not secret. Hannah stared, then nodded slowly. Okay, she said. We show up. Not kicking doors down, I added quickly. Hotels don't play with that. We can't just storm into a room. Hannah's eyes narrowed. So how do we make them face it? I thought about it for a second. Then I said, we call them out in the lobby. Hannah blinked. In public? In public, I confirmed. No hiding behind lies. No, it didn't happen. No, we were just talking. Her lips parted. Then she smiled, small, sharp. Oh, she said. That's cruel. I didn't smile back, but I felt something grim inside me settle into place. Cruel? No. Truth is just loud. We parked a block away because neither of us wanted to risk them seeing our cars. I walked into that hotel with Hannah beside me, and I swear my body felt like it was vibrating. The lobby smelled like citrus cleaner and expensive perfume. Business travelers rolling suitcases. Couples checking in. A guy in a suit talking too loudly on a Bluetooth headset. Normal life. We were carrying a bomb. Hannah whispered, I can't believe I'm doing this. I can, I murmured. They forced our hand. We found a spot near the seating area where we could see the front desk and the elevator bank. My eyes kept darting. My heart pounded so hard I could feel it in my fingers. At 3:11, the doors slid open and Drew, walked in. He looked exactly like his Instagram. Tall. Fit. Confident in a way that screamed used to getting what he wants. He had a carry-on bag and a smug little smile like he was walking into a weekend getaway. He stepped up to the front desk. And then Lauren walked in through the side entrance like she belonged there. She wasn't holding a suitcase. She wasn't checking in. She was there for one thing. She spotted him and her face lit up so brightly it made my stomach flip. That light wasn't for me anymore. She walked up to him fast, and he leaned in like he'd done it before, like his hands were already allowed on her. They didn't kiss in the lobby, but he touched her lower back. She laughed. She looked up at him like he was a reward. Hannah made a sound next to me, like a sharp inhale that turned into a hiss. That's him, she whispered. Yeah, I said. And that's her. Hannah's hands clenched into fists, then she forced them open. Okay, she said, voice low. We do it. I stepped forward. My legs felt like they didn't belong to me. Lauren didn't see me at first because she was locked into him. Then she turned slightly, her eyes swept the lobby, and she saw me. The color drained out of her face so fast it was like someone flipped a switch. Her mouth opened. No sound came out. Andrew turned to see what she was looking at, and his expression shifted from confusion to annoyance to alarm in about half a second. I stopped a few feet away, right where anyone in the lobby could hear. Hi, Lauren, I said, and my voice was calm in a way that felt unnatural. Like I'd detached from my own body. Nice dinner. She blinked, trembling. Nate, she whispered. Hannah stepped up beside me. "Hi, Andrew," she said, voice shaking but loud. "Or should I call you Drew?" Andrew's face went pale. "Hannah, what the?" Lauren stared at Hannah like she was seeing a ghost. Hannah lifted her phone. "You want to explain to me why your work trip is a hotel meetup with his wife?" People nearby started glancing over. The front desk clerk froze mid-type. Lauren's hands flew up, palms out, like she could physically stop time. "This isn't." "Stop," I said, voice sharp now. Don't do the, it's not what it looks like. You're standing in a hotel lobby with the man you've been sexting for months." Lauren flinched like I slapped her. Andrew tried to take control, guys like him always do. "Look," he said, lowering his voice, forcing a calm. "This is a misunderstanding. We were just—" Hannah laughed, a harsh, broken sound. "A misunderstanding? You told her you loved her. You told her you wanted to get a place someday. You told me you were going to meet a client." Andrew's jaw tightened. "You went through my phone." Hannah's eyes blazed. "You went through my life." Lauren looked like she might collapse. She grabbed my arm. "Please," she whispered. "Not here." I pulled away. "Not here. You chose here." Her eyes filled with tears, but I didn't feel sympathy anymore, just a cold sadness. Because those tears weren't grief for me. They were fear for herself. A hotel security guy started drifting closer, watching. Andrew's voice got low, furious. "This is insane. Let's take this outside." Hannah stepped closer, chin up. "No. You don't get to control the scene. You don't get to rewrite this." She turned slightly so her voice carried. "This man has a girlfriend," she said. "And this woman has a husband and 2 kids." Lauren made a strangled sound. Andrew's eyes darted around as he realized people were watching. And that, right there, was the moment the fantasy died. Because fantasies don't include witnesses. I looked at Lauren, and I spoke slowly, clearly. "I'm done," I said. "You can go upstairs. You can do whatever you came here to do. But you don't come home as my wife." Her face crumpled. "Nate, please." I cut her off. "No. You don't get please anymore." Andrew reached for Lauren's elbow like he was going to guide her away, like he was claiming her. Hannah stepped into his path. "Don't touch her," she snapped. "You've touched enough." Security finally stepped in. "Is everything okay here?" Andrew snapped into customer service mode, hands up. "Yes, sir. We're leaving." Hannah shook her head, tears streaming now, but her voice stayed steady. "I'm not leaving until you say it out loud." Andrew's eyes flashed. "Say what?" "Say you cheated," she said. "Say you lied. Look at me and say it." Andrew's mouth opened, then closed. He glanced at Lauren, like she was going to save him. Lauren just stared at the floor. Finally, Andrew exhaled, jaw clenched so hard it looked painful, and he muttered, "Fine. I cheated." Hannah's shoulders sagged like the words physically hit her. Then she straightened. "Okay," she whispered. "Good." She wiped her face and turned, walking toward the doors without another word. I watched her go, admiration and heartbreak tangled together. Lauren reached for me again, desperate. "Nate, don't do this." I leaned in close, voice low so only she could hear. "You already did," I said. "I'm just responding." Then I turned and followed Hannah out. Behind me, I heard Lauren sob. And Andrew say, sharp and furious, "What the hell, Lauren?" As if she was the problem. As if he wasn't the same kind of liar. Hannah and I stood on the sidewalk in the cold, breathing hard like we'd just run a mile. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then Hannah whispered, "I feel empty." I nodded. "Yeah." She looked at me, eyes raw. "He didn't even look sorry." "Mine either," I said. Hannah took a shaky breath. "What now?" I stared back at the hotel doors, like I could see through them into the room where my marriage was being autopsied. "Now," I said, "we go home and we protect ourselves." Hannah nodded slowly. "I'm going to end it. Completely. Tonight." "Me too," I said. We stood there a moment longer, then she reached out and squeezed my hand, quick, human, not romantic. "Thank you," she whispered. I squeezed back. "I'm sorry it's like this." Then she walked to her car. I watched her drive away, and something inside me shifted. Not healed, but aligned. Like my compass finally stopped spinning. I went home. Lauren wasn't there yet when I got back. The kids were still at school. I sat at my kitchen table and called the lawyer again. When Lauren got home at 6:12 p.m., she walked in like a ghost. Mascara streaked. Hair messy. Face blotchy. She looked at me like I was the last lifeboat on a sinking ship. "Nate," she whispered. "Please. We can fix this." I stared at her. "Did you go upstairs?" She froze. Then she nodded once, tiny. That nod was the final nail. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I just felt done. "Okay," I said. "Then here's what's going to happen." Her eyes widened, desperate. "No, listen." "I did listen," I said. "For months you said, online friend, while you built a relationship behind my back. You lied. You used our money. You used our kids' schedule as cover." She started crying again. I'm sorry." I held up a hand. "Stop. You're going to pack a bag and go to your sister's. Tonight." Her head jerked. "What?" "No, this is my house too." "It's our house," I corrected. "And right now, I need you out of it." She shook her head violently. "You can't do that." I looked her dead in the eye. "Watch me." Her breathing got fast. "What about the kids?" I swallowed hard. "They're going to be okay. I'm going to tell them Mommy is staying with Aunt Rachel for a little while. And we're going to figure out a schedule. But you don't get to sleep under the same roof as me after today." She sank onto the couch like her legs gave out. "I made a mistake," she whispered. "No," I said, voice low and steady. "You made a choice. Over and over. And you only want it back because your fantasy got exposed in public." Lauren stared at me, eyes wide with a kind of panic that finally looked like consequence. "What if I end it?" she blurted. "What if I block him? What if I delete everything? We can go to counseling." I laughed, bitter. "You already gave away the part of you counseling can't restore. Trust doesn't grow back like hair." She flinched. I felt my chest ache, not because I wanted her, but because I was grieving the life I thought we had. "You're really doing this," she whispered. I nodded. "Yes." Her voice turned sharp, defensive, like a cornered animal. "So that's it? 11 years and you're just throwing me away?" I stared at her, stunned at the audacity. "You threw us away," I said. "I'm just picking up what's left and trying not to bleed out." Lauren moved in with her sister that night. She tried to spin the story at first. She texted my mom saying, "Nate's having some kind of breakdown." She told our mutual friends it was emotional cheating but not physical. That lie lasted until I sent the screenshots to the one friend I trusted most, and I said, "I'm not gossiping. I'm protecting myself." Word travels fast in suburbs. Especially when the truth is simple: she cheated, got caught, and wanted to pretend it wasn't that bad. Her sister didn't welcome her the way Lauren thought she would. Rachel called me 2 days later, voice exhausted. "I love my sister," she said. "But she's not owning it. She keeps calling you controlling. She keeps acting like she's the victim." I closed my eyes. "Yeah." Rachel sighed. "I'm not on her side, Nate. I'm on the kid's side." That meant more than she knew. Lauren's job started getting weird too, not because I called her workplace or tried to ruin her. I didn't. I wasn't going to blow up my kid's stability just to feel powerful. But Lauren did what cheaters do when their secret life collapses. They unravel everywhere. She started showing up late. Missing details. Snapping at coworkers. Crying in the break room. And one day, she told a coworker what happened in the hotel lobby, trying to frame it like I humiliated her. That coworker told another coworker. By the end of the week, everyone knew Lauren had lied about a clinic dinner and gotten caught meeting another man. She didn't get fired, but she got watched. And being watched is unbearable when you're trying to pretend you're innocent. Meanwhile, Andrew dumped her almost immediately. I know because Lauren called me, voice broken, a week after everything. He blocked me," she sobbed. "He said I ruined his life." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was so predictable. Of course he did. Guys like that don't want a real relationship with a woman who has kids and a mortgage and a husband who knows his name. He wanted the thrill. The secrecy. The ego boost. And when it got real, when the lobby lights came on, he ran. Lauren sniffed into the phone. "Can we talk?" "We've been talking," I said quietly. "You just didn't like what I was saying." "No," she said, voice frantic. "Like, talk. Like us. Like, maybe we can." I exhaled. "Lauren. Stop." She went silent. "I'm filing," I said. "I'm not doing this dance." Her voice turned icy. "So you're going to punish me forever?" I swallowed hard, feeling the familiar ache. "This isn't punishment," I said. "This is consequence." Then I hung up. And I sat on my couch with my kids in the next room watching cartoons, and I stared at the wall, and I let myself feel the finality. Because even when you're the one leaving, it still hurts. You're still burying something. The divorce process was ugly in the way divorces are ugly even when there's no screaming. It's paperwork. It's logistics. It's explaining to children why mommy doesn't live here. Ellie cried the first night Lauren didn't tuck her in. Mason asked if mommy was mad at him. I sat on the edge of Ellie's bed, throat tight, and said, "No. Mommy loves you. Mommy and Daddy are just not okay together right now." Ellie wiped her nose with her sleeve like a little savage. Did she do something bad? Kids are terrifyingly perceptive. I paused, then said the truth in a way she could hold. "Mommy broke Daddy's trust," I said. "And when grown-ups break trust, sometimes they can't put it back together." Ellie stared at me, eyes huge. "Did you break hers?" "No," I whispered. She nodded slowly, and I could see her little brain sorting the world into before and after. That night, after the kids went to sleep, I cried in my kitchen alone. Not because I missed Lauren. But because I missed the idea of my family being intact. I started therapy a month later. I lifted weights. Not to get revenge hot, or whatever people joke about, but because my body needed something solid to do with all the adrenaline and grief. I took the kids on small adventures. Zoo. Science center. Baseball games. I built new rituals that didn't include waiting for Lauren to come home. And slowly, painfully slowly, I started to feel something I hadn't felt in months. Peace. Lauren, on the other hand, kept spiraling. She bounced between begging and blaming. One day she'd text, "I'm sorry, I'll do anything." The next day, "You're heartless. You're ruining our kids." Then she started dating again, fast. Like she couldn't stand being alone with herself. That blew up too, because single life at 34 with 2 kids half the time and a reputation that follows you around isn't the carefree fantasy she'd imagined. Friends who used to invite her over for wine nights got quieter. Husbands side-eyed her. Wives stopped sharing details. It wasn't my doing. It was the natural social consequence of betrayal. People don't like being near someone who treats vows like suggestions. One day, about 6 months after the hotel, she showed up at my door unannounced. I opened it and she looked smaller. Not physically. Like life had shrunk her. "I just wanted to see the kids," she said, voice soft. "You can see them on your scheduled time," I replied. She swallowed. "Nate. Please." I stepped outside and shut the door behind me so the kids wouldn't hear. Lauren's eyes filled. "I messed everything up." "Yes. Finally. A real sentence." I didn't gloat. I didn't smile. I just nodded once. "Yeah," I said. "You did." She looked at me like she expected me to rescue her from the consequences. And that was the moment I truly knew I was done. Because I could see it clearly. She didn't miss me. She missed the stability I provided. She missed the house. The routines. The safety net. She missed having someone to come home to after she blew up her own life. "I'm not your backup plan," I said quietly. Her face crumpled. "I never meant to hurt you." I held her gaze. "But you did." She whispered, "I hate myself." I believed her. And for a second, I felt a flicker of pity. Then I thought about Ellie's drawing on the fridge. And I let the pity go. "I hope you get help," I said. Honestly. For the kids. For you. But you don't get to drag me back into your chaos. Lauren nodded, tears falling. Then she turned and walked to her car. And for the first time since the discovery, I didn't feel like I was losing something. I felt like I was closing a door. Hannah and I stayed in touch for a little while after everything. Not in a dramatic, let's get revenge forever, way. More like 2 people who survived the same storm and occasionally checked to make sure the other wasn't drowning. She texted me one night. "Hannah, he tried to come back. Said it was a mistake." I stared at the message, then replied. "Me, of course he did. Hannah, I told him the version of me who loved him died in that hotel lobby." I read that sentence 3 times. Then I typed. "Me, proud of you." A week later she sent. "Hannah, I'm moving. New apartment. Fresh start." Me, good. You deserve that. That was the last real conversation we had. Life kept going. Pain fades, not because it wasn't real, but because you can't carry it forever without collapsing. It's been a little over a year now. The divorce is finalized. We share custody. The kids are okay, different, but okay. They're resilient in the way that breaks your heart and saves you at the same time. I'm okay too. Not everything was meant to happen, okay. Not I'm grateful she cheated, okay. Just, okay. I found someone later, slowly, carefully. A woman who doesn't need secret phones and midnight bathrooms to feel alive. Someone who tells the truth even when it's uncomfortable. And it still startles me sometimes. How calm love can feel when it isn't infected with deception. Lauren. Her life didn't explode in one dramatic movie scene. It fell apart the way real lives fall apart, piece by piece. The affair didn't become a relationship. Andrew vanished the second it got real. Her friends pulled away. Her family got tired of the excuses. Her job became tense. Dating became harder. Co-parenting became a constant reminder of what she threw away. She still tries, sometimes, to rewrite the story. But the truth is heavier than her spin. The truth is a hotel lobby. The truth is my daughter's drawing. The truth is me, standing on my porch at night, shaking as I sent a message to a stranger named Hannah because I couldn't carry the lie alone. If I could give advice to someone living this right now, it would be this. Pay attention to the small lies. Their footprints. If your partner suddenly has a whole private world they won't let you see, that's not privacy. That's secrecy, and secrecy is the soil affairs grow in. Don't confront with just emotion. Confront with truth. Protect your future before you try to save your past. Talk to a lawyer. Save the evidence. Think about your kids. Think about your finances. Think about the person you'll be when the smoke clears. And most importantly, don't beg someone to choose you. If they're texting someone else under your roof while you're building a life, they already made their choice. All you're doing when you beg is teaching them that betrayal has no cost. The cost is supposed to hurt. Not because you're cruel. Because reality is the only thing that ends the fantasy. And once the fantasy dies, you finally get your life back.